Hello and welcome to another episode of Geared Toward Gear. My name is Sean and I'm so glad you're here. Today we're taking a look at a flashlight slash headlamp. It's been a little while since I've done a flashlight video, and this one is pretty darn cool and very budget friendly. So what we're looking at here is the Sofirn model SP40. And I reviewed several Sofirn brand lights in the past. They are, in my opinion, the king of the budget flashlight world. I don't think there's any company making lights at the quality, performance, and price that Sofirn is. And this is a relatively new offering. I mean, it's been out for at least, I don't know, maybe a couple months at this point, at least at the time of filming this, but it's an excellent light. So very short version is $27, headlamp or EDC light, and 1200 lumens. So that's a lot of light coming out of this little guy right here. And there's a lot of cool features, a lot of cool extras, so let's talk through it. So first and foremost, here's just a quick shot of the box. Simple cardboard box. It's not the black Sofirn branded boxes that we're used to. It seems like they're going more to these, frankly, cheaper packaging, which is fine. And there's a little information about the light there. So that's that. So that's the box, and what comes in the box is everything you see here. So you get a USB charging cable, just standard USB, not USB-C. You get 2 spare O-rings. You get a 18350 tube, which we will talk about, and you get the strap, the head strap, and then of course you get the light itself, and it does come with a battery and with a pocket clip. So you get quite a bit in the box, which is always nice. And we'll come back to some of this stuff here in a minute, but let's just kind of start with the light kind of just as it stands. So the fuel source, first and foremost, is going to be one 18650 battery, and that's the one that comes with it. A 3000 milliamp Sofirn branded battery. So you do get that with the light, and it is USB rechargeable, as I mentioned. Overall, I really like this light quite a lot. There are 2 things about it that I think are bummers. One of those things you can fix on your own. The other is partially rectified by another feature, but still kind of a bummer. So there's 2 bummers in my opinion, and I'll explain those specifically as we go through this, but for $27 to get 1200 lumens of output plus everything it comes with, I think is a hell of a deal, frankly, and I highly recommend this. So if you want the very short version, that's it. But I'll go through some more details, operation, output, all that fun stuff, and then as always, we'll go outside and get some beam shots so you can see what this thing can do at night. So the LED that this guy is using is a Cree XPL LED. So there it is right there. It's got an orange peel reflector. So it's going to be more of a floody beam as opposed to a kind of a thrower or a more focused beam. It is, as you can see, a 90-degree light. It's not rotatable. It is simply a 90-degree light. And most headlamps, or I should say a lot of headlamps, where the light is removable from companies like Phoenix or Nightcore or Olight, are manufactured just that way, as a 90-degree light, which can be good for EDC. I've carried this a number of times, and it certainly functions well as an EDC light. So it's going to have a total of 4 modes. It's going to have a low, a medium, a high, and a turbo. It does not have a strobe. It does not have an SOS, and that makes me happy. This is one of the easiest operating Sofirns that I've had, and again, that makes me very happy because it's so simple and straightforward, but performs really well. So I do like that. It does have an IPX rating. It's an IPX7, so it's going to be safe to drop it from about 1 meter, and it's going to be IPX7 for water resistance, which is 1 meter of submersion for maybe like a half an hour. So you don't want to leave it underwater for extended periods of time, but it'll certainly submerge, and rain and things like that are not a problem. I did mention it uses a XPL LED, and it runs on one 18650 battery The dimensions on this guy in terms of length are 1, 2, 3, 4, just under 4.5 inches. So not super large. Let's compare that to Ontario Rat Model 2. Almost the exact same overall length. And the angle of the phone, it's kind of hard to tell, but they are almost identical in overall length. So it's about the length of a Rat 2, if you're a knife person. The width on this guy is going to be just under an inch. So if I can hold it just right, I don't know if the camera angle is going to pick that up, but it kind of sits just within one of these 1-inch squares here. So about 4 inches by about 1 inch is going to be your dimensions. The weight on this, I think, is around 5 or so ounces, but let's find out just to be sure. I was way off. 3.84, and that's with the battery. So let's do that one more time. 3.84 ounces with the battery. And let's see what that is in grams. 108 grams, or 109 grams. So that's good, under 4 ounces, not terribly heavy. For you knife people out there, you know what it's like to carry a 4-ounce knife or an under 4-ounce knife, so not overly heavy. When I pick this up, I actually feel like it's kind of lightweight for its size, and again, that's with the battery in the light, so no complaints on the weight or just the overall size and carryability. It does have a mineral glass is what they use for the lens, which is pretty typical with a lot of light manufacturers. So that's what the actual lens is made from, is a mineral glass. So that is good, as opposed to like a cheaper, a lot of really cheap lights would use some sort of plastic. So it's good to see that they're using mineral glass. It does have a temperature regulation. So when I talk about output levels and things like that, it is going to start to dim itself over time as the driver starts to heat up. And that's just to protect the overall lifespan of the light. So it does have that built-in thermal regulation, which is good. And it also has a power level indicator, which will tell you how much battery you have available. And the way you would do that is simply turn the light on, and it's operated by a switch on the very top of the light. Everything happens right here. So when you turn it on, and to turn it on, you just click it one time, you're going to get a green light if you're over 70%. If it's flashing green, you are between 30 and 70. If it's red, you're below 30. And if it's flashing red, you are basically dead and you need to charge it like right then. So that is your battery status indicator. And your means of turning the light on and off is just one click on, one click off, which is awesome. So let's talk about the brightness levels, and then I'll kind of show you them in operation. On low, you're going to get 5 lumens, and that's going to run for about 220 hours. On medium, we're looking at 90 lumens for about 15 hours. High is 450 lumens for a little over 4 hours. And on turbo, you're going to get that full 1200 lumens. They advertise that for 1 hour and 50 minutes, but it's going to step down. It's going to dim. Again, with that thermal regulation to protect the driver. So that's the advertised outputs and run times. So let's see what those look like. So again, to turn the light on, it's just one click, and it's on. And it does have mode memory, which I love. I personally love mode memory on flashlights, which means it's going to come on in the last mode that you had it on. And the last mode I had it on was low, so it turned on in low. To cycle through your settings, you just press and hold. And it's going to cycle through low, medium, high. Just those 3 modes. Just as long as you hold it down, and just let it go once you get to the mode you want to be on, right? So press and hold, there's high, press and hold, back down to low, one click, it turns off. Now when I turn it back on, of course, it's going to come on in low because of that mode memory. To get to your turbo, you double click the switch, either from the off position, double click, or from any other brightness level. So we're on low, double click, now we're on turbo. So I do like the fact that you can access your turbo from both the off position or any other brightness level. It will not memorize turbo. So if you put it on turbo, let's put it on low, okay? So we're on low, double click to turbo. If you click it one more time, it's not gonna turn off and memorize turbo. If you click it one time from turbo, it's gonna go back down to whatever the last memorized mode was, and in this case, low. And that's a good thing. You don't want it to necessarily memorize turbo, again, just for longevity. So couldn't be easier to operate. One click on, one click off, and then just press and hold to get through your modes. And there's only 4 of them, so you don't have to cycle through a bunch of strobes and SOSs and things like that. So I do really like that. So as I mentioned, there's a couple bummers about this light for me. One of them is that it will only run on one 18650 battery. It will not run on 2 CR123 batteries. My preference in a flashlight that runs on a lithium-ion rechargeable, which I prefer lithium-ion rechargeables always. However, I prefer that if it runs on a lithium-ion rechargeable battery, that it can also run on some sort of a disposable cell. And that just makes it more versatile, right? If this thing goes dead and I don't have another 18650 nearby or a charging bank nearby, I'm kind of out of luck. I would like to be able to pop 2 CR123s in here and be good to go. So for me, that's kind of a bummer. The one redeeming factor I think about this light that almost makes up for that is that it is USB rechargeable. So you don't have to have a big, battery charging bank or a spare 18650. You can simply plug it into any power device, a power bank, a power brick, something like that, your wall, whatever, and recharge the battery that's already in it, which is nice. So again, it doesn't make up for the fact, to me anyway, that it can't run on 2 CR123s. But if this did not have built-in USB charging, it would be it would be more of a bummer. So anyway, it is USB rechargeable, which is nice, and the silicone boot that they use is really well done in that you're not going to accidentally open this port up. It's nice and thick, as you can see. Again, that's giving it that IPX7 rating, and then you've got your input there for your standard micro USB. And it takes a little bit of work actually to get this boot kind of seated back where it needs to go, which is a good thing. Again, I don't mind taking a little extra time to get that seated because that makes me more confident that this has a good seal. So doesn't run on 2 CR123s, kind of a bummer. USB rechargeable, totally cool. So it is what it is. Another thing that's neat about this light is that it comes with an 18350 tube. And for those who aren't familiar, 18350 is a different size battery altogether. So you can take this entire light apart and put it back together using this tube and use an 18350 battery, which I've got a couple right here. It does not come with one. It's a battery size that you'd have to probably buy online. You're not going to find these in your local, pharmacy. But by switching it out, I think I put it in the right way, you now have this tiny little package. I mean, look how small that is. It makes it 1, 2, 3 inches overall. So it just makes it this tiny, tiny little package, which is cool. It's neat, but it's not terribly practical because it's gonna reduce your runtime significantly, because the capacity on at least the 18350s that I have is 700 milliamp hours. So you can see there. The capacity on an 18650 is 3000 milliamp hours. So you're significantly reducing your runtime, but you are also significantly reducing the overall size of the light. In this configuration, it doesn't work as a headlamp, and the pocket clip kind of becomes unusable. So I'm not quite sure, honestly, what you would use this configuration for, unless you just wanted to drop this whole thing in your pocket and just have a smaller overall package. In addition, there are a couple other Sofirn lights, and I don't know which models off the top of my head, but I have seen some reports and photos of this tube working on some other Sofirn brand lights. So you could potentially take this and make another Sofirn light shorter by using the 18350 tube, which again is neat. It's not something I would personally use because I don't think it's super practical, but something certainly to take note of. So let's get this guy put back together real quick and talk about the pocket clip. And the overall construction is good, just like on any Sofirn. The threads didn't come super lubricated, so I'll have to add some lubrication to those for sure. They're smooth. I mean, they're definitely smooth. There's nothing wrong with the threads. They're just not super well lubricated. The pocket clip can be put in two orientations, right? So one is going to be just like this. So this you could clip to like a shirt pocket, and it would just be facing straight out away from you. You could clip it to a belt or a pants pocket, and again, have it pointed away from you, which is nice for kind of a hands-free option. If we take it off, now, of course, in this configuration, if you put it in your pocket, you've got all of that sticking out of your pocket. If we take it off and swap it to the bottom side down here, that's how I've been carrying it. More as an EDC, where I have not as much sticking out. And with flashlights, I don't mind having some light sticking out of my pocket. So the pocket clip is reversible for bezel up or bezel down, depending on your preference for carry. So now let's talk about the headlamp functionality. And I'm frankly not going to use it as a headlamp. I bought this more as an EDC, and just because I thought it was stinging cool. So the headlamp, it comes with a strap, and it's pretty well made. It's crazy comfortable. It's just got this nice kind of soft silicone rubber. Very, very comfortable. The problem I have with it is that getting the light in and out is not the easiest thing in the world, so I'll do that real quick. So we've got these two kind of silicone rubber tubes here, and we got to feed it through one and kind of work it in, and then feed it through the other and kind of keep working it. And it takes a little bit of time to get it in there. And those these rings here kind of seat themselves into the same slots where you would put your pocket clip, right? So the pocket clip can go here, or the pocket clip can go here, and that's where these bands go. So once you get it in there, that is your headlamp. And then you would operate it by just reaching up and pushing the button. So it functions just fine. It's just a little difficult to get it in and get it out. And to adjust it in terms of tilting it, it definitely requires two hands, because it's just not super easy to reposition again, because there's just a lot of friction. But you can certainly angle it down if you need to, or angle it up. So it will function as a headlamp. It's just not the most user-friendly, I guess, nor is it what I will personally be using this for. And I would also have concerns that these kind of rubberized rings here might crack and break over time. So I'd prefer something more plastic, where it kind of like clicks in, just easy on, easy off. But that's just my personal preference. So it is a headlamp after all, but that's not my main use for this. So let me get the pocket clip back on here the way I like it. So what's the other bummer? So one of them was the fact that it does not take two CR123s. The one other bummer for me is that this is not magnetic. The tail cap is not magnetic. And for me, that's kind of a major fail for a light like this that's designed to be a headlamp / a 90-degree EDC light, to be able to stick this thing on the hood of a car, side of a car, anywhere. Most lights that are configured such as this would have a magnetic tail cap. Having said that, you can rectify that by simply removing this spring and super gluing a magnet in there, and then putting the spring back in. I know people personally who have done that, and it works just fine. But I think it would have been really nice to have that magnetized from the factory. All in all, is it worth 27 bucks? I would say absolutely. The power The construction, the durability is what you would expect from Sofirn. So let's take a quick pause and I'll meet you outside to show you what this thing can do. And we'll go ahead and close out the video once we get outside. All right, here we are in the backyard with the Sofirn SP40. Right now I just have it on medium just for a little ambient light. As you can see, the battery status indicator is showing green. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bump it up to turbo, take a look at the tree and the shed as usual. So double click straight to turbo, and there's the tree, and that's at about, I'd say 40 feet, maybe 45. And the shed back there is at about 120 feet from where I'm standing. So it's a pretty floody beam, as you can see. I mean, it definitely has a hot spot, but it lights up a good bit of the yard. So definitely a good headlamp. We'll head to the garage and take a couple more beam shots in there, but that's just a quick example of what it can do on turbo, 1200 lumens on the SP40. So I will meet you in the garage. All right, we are back in the garage. Right now it's on low, just aimed at the door there. Go ahead and bump it up to medium. See a good bit of light. Let's go ahead and go turbo. So you can see that bright hot spot, plenty of flood. I'm gonna kind of angle it down a little bit so it's not too bright for me. So right now it's pointed at the floor, but as you can see, even pointed at the floor, it lights up the garage nicely. And then we'll move to the vehicle here just real quick to kind of simulate. And I'll go down from turbo to, let's see, let's go medium. And I'm gonna hold it kind of up near my head where it would be if it was a headlamp. So that's medium, that's high. So as you can see, it would provide plenty of light to work on a vehicle at night or in the dark, or even during the daytime. A lot of people don't realize that when you're working on a vehicle during the daytime, often it's really hard to see some things that are kind of, really far down. And I'll go ahead and bump it up to turbo. So there it is on turbo. And just to illustrate that the garage is pitch dark, I'm just gonna put the light up against my chest. Pitch dark, as you can see. So there's turbo again. We'll do kind of one little scan of the garage. I mean, it's shining back at me, reflecting off the paint. That's how bright it is. So definitely a serviceable light for sure, whether it's for EDC or to be used as a headlamp. So there's your beam shots. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.